You know well and you respect well Maria Corina Machado. Here's what President Trump said about her, won the Nobel Prize in the aftermath of the attack on Venezuela. I think it would be very tough for her to be the leader. She doesn't have the support within or the respect within the country. She's a very nice woman, but she doesn't have the respect. What did President Trump mean by that?
Yeah. The President is acknowledging is that today, as it stands, whether we like it or not, the elements of control in that country, the people with the guns, the people that control the guns and the institutions of government there, are in the hands of this regime. So we either, on the one hand, we're getting criticized. Some people are saying we don't want regime change. On the other hand, we're being criticized for not undertaking regime change.
Mr. Secretary,
what we're trying to trigger here is a process of stabilization, recovery, and transition to something where Maria Corina and others can be a part of. And that's what we're working
You have
for.
respect for her, don't you? What the hell did Delcy Rodriguez mean when she said this attack had Zionist undertones? Thank you. We started this operation on September 2nd. With the attack on Venezuelans in boats in open waters. And now we are nearly 5 months in. Next week is 5 months. Finally, a public hearing. Wow, how novel. Finally, a public hearing in the Senate or House. This is the first public hearing we've had. 200 folks who are on secret designated combatant lists have been killed. U.S. troops have been injured. Hundreds of millions of dollars have been spent. An armada amassed. The announcement of a new Monroe Doctrine, which does not land well in the Americas. Democrats have been asking over and over again, can we have a public hearing? Can we share what we know with the American public? Finally, a public hearing. But even that hearing is constrained. I'd like to talk about the complete weakness of the legal rationale about the strikes on boats in international waters, but I can't because the administration has only shared it with members in a classified setting. I can't tell you why the domestic rationale is hollow and the international rationale is hollow. I can't tell you why the rationale for attacking Venezuela is hollow because, again, the rationale has been shared with us in a closed setting. I can't share with you the grim details of the murder of shipwrecked survivors in open waters that we all know because we've seen the videos and we've questioned the U.S. military officials involved about legality because the administration will not release that publicly. They released the boat strike videos publicly, but they hid the second strike that killed struggling shipwrecked survivors, even from Congress, for nearly 3 months, but I can't really talk to you about it. I can't talk to you about the weakness of the targeting criteria being used to attack boats in the Caribbean and Pacific. I would encourage any colleague, if you have not, go to the classified setting and ask for a briefing on each strike and ask this question: what was the evidence that there were narcotics on that craft? You will be very surprised if you ask that question about every strike. And so even in this first public hearing, 5 months in, there's a lot we can't talk about. If it was such a righteous operation, why is the administration and the majority in this Senate so jealously protecting the details about it from being revealed to the American public? I have Virginians deployed in this operation. I can't answer their families' questions. Thank God we're having a public hearing 5 months in. This is supposed to be the greatest deliberative body in the world. Mr. Secretary, who won the July 2024 Venezuelan presidential election?
Oh, I think the whole world would acknowledge it was Edmundo Gonzalez.
Who lost that election?
Maduro.
And his vice president, Delcy Rodriguez. Now, you have made the decision, the administration has made the decision in the aftermath of the attack that Delcy Rodriguez should be leading the country. Let me read something that President Trump said about her on January 14 about Delcy Rodriguez, who lost the election with Maduro. We just had a great conversation today, and she's a terrific person. I mean, she's somebody that we have worked with very well. Let me tell you what Delcy Rodriguez said the day after Venezuela was attacked. Governments around the world are simply shocked that the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela is the victim and target of an attack of this nature, which undoubtedly has Zionist undertones. What the hell did Delcy Rodriguez mean when she said this attack had Zionist undertones? I'm assuming you have no idea.
Oh, I have an idea what she meant. I mean, what's the question?
What does she mean when she says this attack has Zionist undertones?
Look, I'd have to answer, but let me understand in a broader context. No one here is telling you that this is what we want to see in the long term.
Okay.
This is not a campaign to leave in place the system that's currently in place.
Let me switch.
But we either but I mean, the criticism of us is... All right, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I'm ready to switch now to talk about somebody that you
thought
know
you raised
well.
an important point. If I can get back to it, I will.
You know well and you respect well Maria Corina Machado. Here's what President Trump said about her. Won the Nobel Prize in the aftermath of the attack on Venezuela. I think it would be very tough for her to be the leader. She doesn't have the support within or the respect within the country. She's a very nice woman, but she doesn't have the respect. What did President Trump mean by that?
Yeah. First of all, I've known Maria Corina for probably 12 years, 13
have.
years. Have dealt with her probably more than anybody, as much as anybody on this committee has for certain. And I'll be meeting with her today, in fact. And we met with her a couple weeks ago. So here's the reality, though, and I think what the president was pointing to. And I think Maria Corina would acknowledge this.
The only way I talked to her last week. Well, she's very disappointed in those comments, and so are Venezuelans in my state.
Okay, well, she didn't share that with me or with us, but I would sell this to you. The president is acknowledging is that today, as it stands, whether we like it or not, the elements of control in that country, the people with the guns, the people that control the guns and the institutions of government there, are in the hands of this regime. So we either, on the one hand, we're getting criticized. Some people are saying we don't want regime change. On the other hand, we're being criticized for not undertaking regime change.
Mr. Secretary,
what we're trying to trigger here is a process of stabilization, recovery, and transition to something where Maria Corina and others can be a part of.
You have respect for her, don't you?
Sure.
Okay, great. My last question is this.
And so does the president, by the way. He met with her. They had a great meeting. And he actually he spoke to her last week in my presence.
Here's what he said after that meeting. We're talking to her, and maybe we can get her involved in some way. I'd love to be able to do that. Maybe we can do that. We'll set the terms for this Nobel Prize winner having a leadership role. Last question is this. You talked about the speech in Davos. Here's something the president said in Davos. I'm helping NATO until the last few days. When I told them about Iceland, they loved me. They're not here for us on Iceland, that I can tell you. Our stock market took the first dip yesterday because of Iceland, so Iceland has already cost us a lot of money. The president repeatedly mistook Iceland for Greenland, right? We're not mad at Iceland. They haven't cost us any money. The president just mistook the two countries for each other, correct?
Yeah, he meant to say Greenland, but I think we're all familiar with presidents that have verbal stumbles. We've had presidents like that before. Some made a lot more than this one.
Nice try. Thanks. All right. Thank you.
So we're diving into a transcript today that, honestly, it reads less like a Senate hearing.
And more like a courtroom drama.
Exactly. A prosecutor's opening statement. This is Senator Tim Kaine, and he finally got the Secretary of State on the record about Venezuela.
And he did not pull any punches.
Not at all.
I mean, it's about time, right? We're 5 months into this operation.
5 months.
And up until this hearing, Congress has heard basically nothing from the administration. This is the first crack in that silence.
And what came out, it's a very complicated picture of what we're actually doing down there.
Mm-hmm.
Right away, Kaine he jumps on the terminology.
Oh, yeah. The kinetic actions.
It sounds so sterile, so clinical.
Oh.
But Kaine is looking at the reality ships, troops, millions of dollars.
Well, kinetic is just Pentagon speak, isn't it? It's a way to say we are shooting at people without saying it.
Right.
The whole point is to frame this as, a counter-narcotics police action.
Just a drug bust.
Exactly. If it's just a drug bust, they don't need the War Powers Act. But Kaine's whole argument is that the scale of this, it looks a lot like combat.
And he brings up this one specific incident that just makes that drug bust story really hard to believe.
I think I know what you're talking about.
The administration put out videos of strikes on boats, right? But they buried a second strike.
The one involving shipwrecked survivors.
Yeah.
In open water.
Yes. And they kept it from Congress for 3 months.
And that's really the core of it. You don't engage survivors in the water in a law enforcement capacity. You don't launch missiles at shipwrecked people to arrest them.
Kaine ties this straight to what he calls secret designated combatant lists.
Mm-hmm.
He says 200 people from these lists have been killed, which that implies we're not just stopping drugs. We're hunting people.
Which completely guts the legal argument for being there in the first place. Kaine's point is simple. If you have a kill list, you're at war.
You can't hide behind a label like stabilization.
Not when you have an armada in the water taking out pre-selected targets, no.
And it seems like the confusion on the battlefield is perfectly matched by the confusion in our diplomacy.
Oh, the diplomatic tent is a mess. Who are we actually supporting?
It's so unclear. We say we support democracy, but the U.S. is actively working with Delcy Rodriguez.
Maduro's vice president.
Yeah.
While at the same time, we're sidelining the guy who actually won the election, Edmundo Gonzalez.
It's glaring, and Kaine quotes President Trump calling Rodriguez a terrific person to work with.
While calling Maria Corina Machado a Nobel Peace Prize winner. Just a nice woman with no real respect.
So what's the logic there?
It's a brutal calculation. I mean, Rubio's defense here is so telling. He calls it a reality check.
A reality check.
He's basically saying, look, I don't care who won the election. I care who has the guns and the tanks.
Wow.
That's the only reality that matters to the State Department. They're betting on the regime for stability, even if it means praising the adversary.
But, partnering with the regime comes with some pretty bizarre baggage.
You mean the Zionist undertones?
Yes. Rodriguez claims the U.S. naval ops have Zionist undertones, and Rubio can't even begin to explain what that means.
And then there's the competence issue on our side, the whole Iceland incident that Kaine brought up.
This part was amazing. Rubio tries to just laugh it off.
Right, because President Trump told NATO that Iceland hated him when he meant Greenland.
And Rubio dismisses it as a verbal stumble, something all presidents do.
But it's not just a stumble, is it?
No. Kaine points out the stock market actually dipped after he said that.
Because words from the White House have consequences. When the president mixes up a strategic ally with a territory he wants to buy, investors get nervous.
It proves Kaine's whole point. Whether it's the military language or mixing up countries, the lack of precision is genuinely dangerous.
So that's the picture we're left with.
A military operation that acts like a war but is called a drug bust, a diplomatic strategy that ignores our allies.
And a communication style that's rattling markets. It all kind of builds to that final question in the transcript.
From Senator Rand Paul.
Yeah. He just asks everyone to flip the script.
What if the shoe was on the other foot?
Exactly. If a foreign power blockaded our coast, bombed our ships, and then told the world,
Don't worry, it's just a drug bust.
would we accept that? Or would we call it an act of war?
It really forces you to look in the mirror.
It does. Where is that line between police action and war? And I guess, does that line move depending on who's drawing it?
Something to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.